Hey everybody, welcome back to another video about Next.js 10. Today we're going to talk about internationalization, which is the process of translating your app to different languages. I'm going to show you the new built-in features like the different routing strategies, the automatic local detection, and then we're going to translate an existing website with a complementary open source package called Next.Translate. So let me just sit down and let's get started. I'm here on the Next.js website, and if you just go to Docs and you go to Advanced Features and you scroll all the way down, you're going to see Internationalized Routing. So Next.js now has built-in support for internationalized routing since version 10. Before version 10, there was really no support whatsoever. So this is really cool that they've now added built-in support. It's not complete internationalization support, it's just routing, but that's already a very important part. So with this routing support, you can just add a third-party library like any of these and get complete support. So now let's look at how you configure that. In your next config.js file, you're going to add the i18n key, and then in there you can specify a list of locales. In this case, we've got English, French, and Dutch. And you tell Next.js your default locale. And then you really have to decide between a locale strategy. Okay? So there's subpath routing and there's domain routing. And what this means is that with subpath routing, Next.js puts the locale in front of your path name, as you can see right here. It doesn't do it for the default locale. So in this example right here, the default one's English. So /blog is going to be the English page. /fr/blog is going to be the French one. And this is going to be the Dutch one. This is really easy, really straightforward. I like it a lot. But if you want or if you need different domains for your page, you also got domain routing, the domain routing strategy. And this one just redirects your users to different domains, right? So if they have configured English in their browser, they're going to go to example.com. If they got French, they're going to go to example.fr, Dutch, example.nl. And within a domain, you can even specify like subpath routing, or at least redirects. So Dutch as spoken in Belgium is going to be redirected to the NL page. And then your URLs are going to look like this. Example.com/blog is going to be English. Example.fr/blog is going to be French, obviously. And example.nl/nl-be/blog is going to be Dutch, but Dutch as spoken in Belgium. Okay. I haven't quite figured out what you're going to do with cookies, for example, if you're using domain routing. Because imagine if somebody signs in on example.com and then they go to example.fr, they're not going to have access to this cookie, right? Because it's on a different domain. So unless you have a really good reason to use domain routing, I just would avoid it. Especially if you look at what big companies are doing. So if you just go to apple.ch, ch stands for Switzerland, you get redirected to apple.com/ch, and then you choose a language. Okay. Same with Samsung. So if you go to, let's say, samsung.fr, we're going to get redirected to samsung.com/fr. So they are using subpath routing. But if we go to amazon.de for Germany, they actually got a .de website. And I think with e-commerce, it's just more trustworthy if you actually use .de in Germany. People are going to trust your e-commerce a bit more. But if you don't really sell anything or you don't have a really good reason to do that, then subpath routing is going to be just fine. And I would actually default to that. Now, another really cool feature of Next.js is the automatic locale detection. So when a user visits the application root, to just the homepage of your website, Next.js will try to automatically detect which locale the user prefers based on the accept language header and the current domain. Okay, so I've got this little example application here. We're going to have a look at this one later. But if I just open up DevTools and we're going to filter by document, and here we got the request to localhost, we can see that in the request headers, we got this accept language header, and your browser actually sends this one for every single request it's doing. Okay, and in here it's just a list of languages that I prefer. So I've configured my browser to use English as the first one. Then if English is not available, we're going to go to German, then French, and then Italian. So in my settings here, Chrome settings, you can search for language, and then you get your language configuration, and in there you can configure what languages you like best. So just sort them based on preference. Usually Chrome does it automatically. Users are not really going in there and configuring their languages. But if this is set up correctly, then Next.js can detect that and automatically redirect you to the proper either subpath or domain. Now, just one thing before we get to programming. Down here, it's got a little section about search engine optimization. And well, Next.js now automatically handles the lang attribute on the HTML tag, so you don't need to worry about that. What you do need to worry about is the hreflang meta tag. And this is basically a meta tag that tells search engines like Google that there's a different variant of your page, and Google can then decide which one it should actually show the user. Okay. So if you want to learn more about this, you can go to this link here. I'm going to put it down in the description. But for now, we're going to go and actually translate my little example application right here. So what we got here is just a really simple website with just a homepage that says hello world, an about page that says my name's Patrick, and that's literally it. That's all there is to it. I've added a footer down here in blue, and we're going to then later on add a language switcher in there, and it's going to be really interesting. So if you want to follow along, I'm going to add some git clone and git checkout commands in the description, and just pause the video right now if you want to follow along and go do that. So the first thing we're going to have to do is create a new next.config.js file, and in there we're going to just copy paste this configuration right there. And as locals, we're going to use English, French, and German, because I don't actually speak Dutch. And default locale is going to be English. Let's save that. Let's go to our terminal. Make sure we restart our development server, because we changed the configuration. And then what we can do here in our homepage is use the Next.js router. And I guess we have to actually import use router from next router. And what this allows us to do is now say greeting is equal to router.locale, so we can access the current locale right there. And if that's, let's say, English, then we're just going to have hello world. But if router locale is German, we're going to have hello Welt. And if locale, no, router locale is French, we're going to have bonjour le monde, je pense. And otherwise just nothing. Okay, so now we can just put this down here, greeting, save. And now we're on the English one because that's the default one. But if we add /fr right there, we get Bonjour le monde, and with German, Hallo Welt. So it works. And the other really cool thing about it is that in layout, I've added these two links, the home and about links, and they are just href/ and href/about. And now Next.js actually detects the current language, and it's going to change these to include the prefix of your locale. So you don't need to worry about this one at all. That's just a really nice thing. Now we can also explore the automatic locale detection. So if you go to our browser right here and just say German's going to be my, let's actually choose French. French is going to be my most preferred language. And we're going to go to the application root here, refresh. Next.js is going to automatically redirect us to French. Remember, it only works on the root. So if we refresh again here on French, well, we obviously are on French, but if we move German up to the top and we are on French, we're not getting redirected to German. But if we are on the root, it would actually redirect to German. Let me just put English to the top again, and there we go. Now let me just really quickly show you how you can use this with getStaticProps. So let's export an async function called getStaticProps. And remember, here we can return an object with our props that would then get passed to the default exported component. So props right here is going to be this object. And what we can do right now is just copy this greeting up there for, exemplary purposes. Just choose locale because we get it actually right there. So getStaticProps gets a context object with a local property on it, and you can destructure it right there, and then you got access to the locale like you would here with useRouter. But of course you can use this at build time. So if you use a CMS with locale support, you could actually pass in this locale to your CMS and then get localized content like this. I'm just gonna show you how this one works. Let's just return this prop greeting, and then in there you need to say props.greeting. If we save that, yeah, it actually works. So French seems like it's working. Okay. Now let me just revert all of this because we're not actually going to be using that today. Now the next thing we're going to do is add a language switcher to the footer, so we don't actually need to go into the URL every time we want to change the locale. And the way we're going to do this is by going to our layout component right here, scroll down to footer, or actually no, we need to import useRouter from nextRouter again, then use it right here. And now what we can do is to render an unordered list of router locales, which is a string array. And we can map over these and just for each one return a list item, which just says locale for now. Of course, we're going to need to set a key like this. Then we just got a nice list of our locales. And now we actually need to create links for each of these. So what we're going to do is just go in there, create a link. And the link refers to the current page that we're on, right? Because you could be on this about page, and when you change the language, you don't actually want to be redirected to the home page, okay? So router.asPath is the current path in your browser. And I think if we save this, these ones turn into links, and you can now click that. Oh, nope, forgot one thing. To actually change the language, you need to pass the local prop right here to the link. But now, if we click it, it goes to French and German and back to English. It also works on the About page. We have not translated this, of course, so this is not going to change, but keep an eye on the URL. We're now on /about. Now we have the French prefix and the German prefix. So now let's go back to our index page, and we're going to fix this nested ternary statement that we've got here, because that's not how you're supposed to actually translate your page. The thing is, Next.js does not have built-in support for anything that would help us with this. So we're going to need to use a open source package. And I've chosen this Next Translate package by this developer called Aral Roca. And I've actually used this before, even before Next.js 10. So before Next.js 10, you had no built-in support for localized routing. So this package provided that, and it was actually the only package that I could find that worked with static generation. So it's really cool. They've now updated it to work with Next.js 10, and we can actually use the 1.00 experimental version because it's got a new API. And I don't feel like making a video about the old API if it's going to change in the next few weeks anyways. So yeah, let's just get right into it. We're going to have to go to getting started. And well, first thing, of course, we have to add the Next Translate package to our project. So in here, we can install Next Translate. I've added this version tag right here. You probably don't need to do this if version 1.00 has already been released. So just please check for that yourself. And once it's installed, we can run dev again. Then the next thing we need to do is move our i18n config to a separate file. Okay, so right now we've got it in next.config.js. So we're gonna copy this one. Just create a file called i18n.json and add it in there. Let's just format it like this. It's the same locales and default locale keys that you're used to from Next.js itself. And in here, we can now do this. You can get the necessary i18n config directly from Next Translate, like this. Now we actually need to create namespace files, okay? So these files, they contain the actual translations of our strings, and you're going to need to have a locales directory, and in there a directory for each one of your locales, and then just JSON files in them. So we're going to do this right now. Let me create a locales directory and add a enus directory with a common.json file. And in there we can say greeting is translated to hello world. Now let me copy that and create a German one that says not hello world but hello Welt. And then even French. Bonjour le monde, like this. And now what we need to do is configure, where are we here? In the i18n JSON, we need to say pages. So we want that every single page includes the common namespace file. So common is just going to be on every single one of your pages. Now on our about page, we want a different JSON file to be included. That's just going to be about.json. So we can specify this like that. And then in there, we're just going to have about.json. Oops, that's a folder. Let me just delete this one. New file about.json. We're not going to do anything in there, and just copy this right there and right there. Okay. The idea behind this is that you don't include unnecessary translations for different pages. You just get the strings that you need for this exact page and nothing else. You can even use regular expressions here to say that every page that starts with /about should include about. You can read more about this right here in the config section under pages. It's right there. But for now, I think that's all we need to do to get started. And we can now go to our index page. What you need to do is you need to import the use translation hook from next.translate/use translation. And then instead of doing all of this, you can just say let t equals use translation. So this is t is a function that helps us translate strings, and we can use it in there and say common.greeting or :greeting. So common, of course, is the namespace, and greeting is the key in your JSON file. So now if we save this, object is not a function. Okay, that was weird. Anyway, it's gone now. And now French and German. And it works. Pretty cool. Now, as a last example, let's translate the about page, because currently that one's just static. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to import use translation right there. Then we're going to use the hook like this. And the next thing we need to do is actually configure these keys. So we want like title, about us, and introduction, my name. Actually, let's use variables right here. My name is name, and I'm years old. So now we can go here and say translate namespace about title, and down here so if we refresh this, no, actually English, yeah, so we get this. And now as a second parameter we can pass in our name and our age. Let's not call it years, let's call it age. My name is Patrick and I'm 27 years old. That's really nice. Just let's copy this over to German and say right here über mich, and then mein Name ist und ich bin Jahre alt. And now German, it works. English, German, French. French we have not provided any keys, right? It's just an empty JSON string. So it just falls back to this. Okay, I think that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to leave a like, and maybe I'm going to do a second part where we look at more advanced use cases like loading localized content from a CMS, or maybe formatting dates in different locales. And yeah, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.